from coming out to getting kicked out. All right, let's get into it. I'm gonna tell you things that are embarrassing, things that are hard to talk about, and some things that might be surprising. Most people don't know a lot of these things that I'm gonna tell you today. Buckle up, here is the story of Eve. This is one of the ones that's hard to talk about. I'm 38 years old. Both of my parents are Puerto Rican. Another embarrassing thing, before you ask, my Spanish is terrible. I don't dance and I do not like spicy food. But we've got that out of the way. I was raised in Lorain, Ohio. I have one sibling, a gorgeous older sister, and she has 5 beautiful children. Growing up, my sister was my best friend. We were a little sheltered. We didn't have the typical childhood where you just kind of go over to your friend's house and there was no children in our neighborhood to play with. And in the 80s, that was kind of like the thing. So my sister and I became each other's best friends. Don't get me wrong, there was a lot of fighting. And when I was about 5 years old, my parents got divorced. I remember them living together, and then I remember them not living together. I had the best weekends with my father, and these are some of my best memories. He would just spoil us to death. Movies all day, make slow motion animated movies. My father is very creative and a very talented artist. My mother, on the other hand, was raising us, and she had to work her butt off to take care of both of us. She sent us both to a Christian school up until 8th grade. I don't know how she did that, honestly. And the fact that we didn't truly really know how much my mom was struggling. She didn't let it show. She took us on trips to Cedar Point and Kings Island. She did her very best for us. If I was like, Mom, I want to go eat at McDonald's, she made it happen. She was a really great mother. I love her more than anything in this world. I was known as the bad child, the hyperactive child that talked back, got spanked all the time, would never listen, no matter how many times I was told to do something. I never got good grades in school. I struggled no matter how much my mother yelled at me to get anything above C's and D's. My mom couldn't afford to pay for me to stay in a Christian school because she was now paying for my sister's college. So I was terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go to public school? This is crazy. But I had to do it, and it was actually the best thing that happened for me. But this also came with some other issues. Because I didn't do well in school, I skipped class a lot. I didn't want to go to class. It didn't feel good to me to sit in class and try to learn something when it was hard for me to grasp concepts that the teachers were trying to teach. I felt like they were speaking a different language. And I felt so dumb. Why would I go to class when it would end up making me feel like a failure? So I would skip class a lot, and Open Campus made that very easy. Thank you, Shaker Heights. Because of all of this, I barely graduated. High school also brought up issues of depression, anxiety. I mean, the only thing that I enjoyed really when I was in high school was coming home and sitting in front of the TV, right? And MTV, everybody on MTV was absolutely gorgeous. I looked at myself and I was like, well, I don't look like that. How can I look like that? Worst decision I could have ever made. I decided to starve myself. I would eat 1 slice of bread a day, and then every night before bed, I would take laxatives. Even after going to therapy with my mom, I attempted at one point to swallow an unknown bottle of pills in my mother's purse. She got wind of it and immediately took me to the emergency room. This all happened before my senior year. Senior year was a big year for me. Attributing to my depression was the fact that I was gay. It wasn't well known. I didn't know what the signs were. I just knew that I really wasn't into guys, but I was dating guys because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. Coming out, thankfully, was not difficult for me. I told my mom that, my dad that. They both were really not thrilled. My dad was just kind of like, well, you know, that's against the Bible. And I was like, well, you know, Dad, I'm not really religious the way you are. I don't read the Bible. So let's move on from that. Where are we gonna get lunch? That was pretty much my coming out story. Luckily, my parents were, for the most part, understanding of it. My mother wanted me to go to college. I couldn't sit in class in high school. What makes you think I'm gonna sit in class? Absolutely not for me. Once I refused that, I got kicked out. Mom said, nope, you cannot live here, you gotta go. So I'm 18, I'm like, where am I gonna go? So I call up Dad. Hey Dad, I need a place to stay. Can I stay with you? I promise I'm gonna start working right away. And I stuck to that. And I had a bunch of random odd jobs. Serving tables, working a front desk at the gym, catering, delivery driver, pet store manager. You name it, I've probably done it. And regardless of all these jobs, I struggled to pay my bills. I struggled to pay my car note. I struggled to pay my cell phone bill. I was embarrassed that I couldn't go out to eat because I couldn't afford to pay my share of the bill. When I started working as a front desk person at the gym, I met a woman named Heidi, and she kind of took me under her wing and introduced me to bodybuilding. It became an obsession. I was like, oh my God, this is great. I'm gonna be the most ripped and lean person I could be. Once I did those shows, I realized I cannot live at 9% body fat. It just wasn't doable. And then I started to get addicted to boxing. So then I became an amateur boxer. I fought 2 fights, won both of them. And shortly after that, I had the opportunity to move to Chicago and work as a personal trainer at a friend's gym. And that's what brought me here. I'm gonna touch on relationships a little bit here. You could say it's one of my addictions. Move around a bit rapidly, to put it nicely. And this carried on for quite some time. And I started to feel as I got older that I'm never gonna find the person that I'm supposed to be with and that wanted to be with me for the long haul until I met my current girlfriend, Kristen. I met her 4 years ago and it has been a life-changing experience, truly. I think I've found the person that I'm meant to be with. About 2 years into our relationship where she asked, why are you so angry all the time? And I had to look at myself and say, you know, why do I do that? It doesn't feel good to be upset and angry that quickly for no reason. And I knew it was for no reason, but I couldn't help it. So I decided to look into this. I talked to a therapist and she helped me realize that, you know, not only is my ADHD a major issue and it has been since childhood and it had gone undiagnosed, but not only was it ADHD, she brought to light something else. She diagnosed me with bipolar 2. This is something that I am still a little bit embarrassed to tell people because they automatically think like, oh my gosh, she is bipolar, she must be crazy. Bipolar 2, just to give you a brief rundown, you might want to look this up if you really want the details, but basically the difference between bipolar 1 and bipolar 2 is bipolar 1 is to the super extreme where when you're manic, you might end up in the hospital. Bipolar 2, when you're manic, it's extreme hyperfocus. You can't do anything else but the thing that you're doing. You neglect everything else. And if you're not doing that thing that you want to be doing, you become severely depressed. I have been known to hop around from hobby to hobby, from needle felting, drawing, painting, wood carving, all the way to building a camper van. I decided, all right, I'm gonna listen to this therapist, and I am grateful to Kristen for helping me realize this is something that I need to look into. I am now transitioning from personal training to real estate, and I could not be more excited to start this new career and see where this takes me. As you know, if you've watched my previous videos, I do invest in real estate, and this is just going to help with that. My goal is to become financially free. This is the way that I'm going to achieve that. If you're interested in knowing how I started investing and what my investment property is, check out this video.